Shakyamunaya Buddhaya. Dear brothers, dear Noble Sangha, today is the 14th of June, 2020. I think that here we all have read more or less the poems by Thầy. This poem collection, I think, is we need to be patient to be able to read all of them, because enjoying poetry is not simple. The second thing is Thay's poetry as poems have a lot of philosophy, Buddhist philosophy, very colorful, of the teachers putting their own attainments or achievements and experience into their poems and delivering to us so that we can understand it easily. Vietnamese poems are quite easier to enjoy because they are born from emotions, sadness, happiness. More or less, it carry ideal or images that will stimulate our emotions. But when the poems that reach to the point that expressing wisdom, then it is difficult for us to understand. That is the first that I would like to talk about the core. The second is about the outer shell. Thầy has a lot of long poems, and I am someone who can learn by heart a lot of poems, but I just surrender. It is too long. However, there are short poems that Thầy composed into songs. It's very good for lay practitioners. Some people do remember it. There's a song called Cẩn Trọng. Cẩn Trọng. I'm not sure if Sư Chú Minh Địa can translate this. It is something very difficult to translate. If this word I apply into my practice, then maybe I have to spend my whole life just to practice it. Having the mindfulness energy to be aware of each emotion of your body, every breath, in-breath and out-breath, every step on the ground, every sentence that we speak is called Cẩn Trọng. Just only 2 words, but to explain it fully, then it has those meanings. To speak more broadly than the whole life of our practitioner life, we all have to do is just that, Cẩn Trọng. Only 6 sentences. Qua ngõ vắng, meaning going through a narrow street where flowers and leaves are falling, where the ground is red, and suddenly I'm more careful, mindful with my steps. When I was young, I was learning long poems, long gathas. But now that I'm reaching over 70, then my memory doesn't allow me to do so anymore. So I choose the shortest ones to learn, because it is easier to remember. And usually the shorter the poems, the more things they are packed with. And so this poem is still quite long, and I can still cut it into just 3 sentences is enough. Qua ngõ vắng, passing through a narrow street, a lot of seeing leaves are falling. Suddenly I am mindful, careful. That's it. This first reminds us, or hints, give us a hint that to be mindful of our steps. Wearing shoes, wearing sandals, then our mindfulness is reduced by 50%. I notice a couple of people here who walk barefoot, and when we are able to contact directly with the ground, then we are able to come in contact with each pebbles. You want to or not walking like this, then our mindful practice would be improved. There is a certain concentration that you need, and you can do that. This is not strange at all, because the Theravadan, like Thai forest tradition, Burmese, Nepal, or Sri Lanka, they walk very short distances, probably from here to the residence. That's enough, and they would be walking barefoot back and forth. And their practice energy, their practice style is very simple. It's not doesn't have a lot of contents like us. Only sitting and walking, walking and sitting. That's it. That's only one thing. It's just eating and then practice walking and sitting. Just one meal at lunch. They don't cook, and lay friends bring food for them. They don't choose whatever they are donated. They will gladly receive it. And they walk back to their kutis, their own hermitage, just to do one thing. Walk back and forth, and then sit, then get bored of sitting, and walk back and forth. That's it. One life, whole life, dedicating just for that. Only to be mindful at every step, every sitting. That's it. If we are able to do so, with the very small things like walking, then we can be very mindful before we speak. Sometimes we speak words that are born from dissatisfaction, agitation, jealousy, complexes. We are not able to be careful, be mindful, because before we fail to recognize that before we speak, our thoughts are born from a place of unwholesomeness. And once our speech is past, it cannot be retrieved, leaving marks in people's mind. And from things like we are pushing others, we humiliated others, we insulted others, using it's more harmful than action, than unwholesome action. A couple of unwholesome words that leave wounds in others can leave that wound open for a long time. And, it takes a long time to heal. But if our practice, that we have been mindful in every step, then we can do something some very simple. That noticing that every sentence that we want to speak, born as thoughts. And in the future, a couple of brothers here, you will be Dharma teachers, certainly. Except you don't want to practice anymore, then I don't know. But if you keep practicing, then you will become Dharma teachers. When you receive that lamp, then your words will be your only vehicle to lead others, to instruct others, to practice, to nourish the bodhicitta. And our words can calm the Sangha, can bind the Sangha. In reality, teacher like Thầy is not able to nourish the whole Sangha, but also depends on the elder brothers. Sư ông was able to be successful in America has a lot to do with the Sangha also, because Sư ông cannot interact with each and everyone here, and he by himself cannot shine the light of mindfulness to influence so many, but requires a lot more than that. If you look into the Sangha in the past, the Buddha himself cannot make Buddhism so shine so brightly in Nepal or in India along the Ganges. But there were 1,200 bhikshus helping him. Each of them carried very lively Dharma talk in them, helping people at the time to take refuge in the Dharma. Each brother was the emissary of the Buddha, of the Dharma. So when we practice mindfully, carefully, then we can use our words to bring peace and happiness to the world, and that is natural. In Buddha's teachings, monks and nuns can also bring happiness to not only human beings but also holy beings from heaven, but also holy beings in this very life who are rich, who possesses qualities that are very similar to holy beings from heaven. So we have great people, but we also have normal human beings, and there are those who have very simple needs, keep very diligently their 5 mindfulness trainings. There are other people who live in this life, when they are born, they don't know how to worry. They don't know what worry is. They don't know what so much worrying about their survival. Their merits are equal to the merits of the heavenly beings. They have wealth that we dream, and we cannot reach to that wealth. Those people are those who possess the merits of the heavenly beings. But don't think that they don't need to practice, because they still possess sufferings, they still possess worries, disappointments, and so they still need Buddhist teaching. There was a time that Sư ông went to New York or DC giving a Dharma talk to businessmen, businesswomen. These were people who are the top class of the society, and they came to listen to the Dharma talks to save their own lives. So when we have Gandong, when we have mindfulness and care in every step, then those are the Dharma talks that will attract people to come here. Lay practitioners, they come here listening to our Dharma talks. That is just a small contribution. Dharma talk is only a small contribution. But the way that the brothers interact with them are actually what attract them, bring them aspiration and inspiration to practice, and bringing happiness to others. They love us doesn't mean that we have a lot to offer in terms of material needs. There's no high buildings, no complicated food. They come to us because they feel the peaceful energy from us, from each lay practitioner here, from each brother here. This is very clear. Before I thought that when they came to Deer Park is because of Siom, because he was physically here. But many years after he was sick, and then each brother, each novice brother, is a Dharma talk, very lively. Doesn't need words, but the way we walk, we stand, we smile, we act. The way we invite them to drink water, the way we serve food, and informing them information are all the inspiration for them to come to us to practice. Not because we need money, then we call for them to come. But the foundation is because we have the Dharma to offer to them. I've just spoken a couple of words and I need some water already. Maybe speaking a little longer, then maybe we just invite the bell and call it. So from this, I'd like to share this so important that mindfulness brings about the quality, the inner power for a practitioner, so that we can live in this life, bringing happiness, peace, and the Dharma to others. So that's why I said in the beginning, the whole life of a monastic, there's only two things. Mindful in walking, in speaking. In walking and speaking, when we are mindful, we can recognize our emotion, each words before even we speak. Then we can be more mindful when we are doing working meditation, chopping, cleaning, pot washing, and so on. And so this embraces the whole life of a monastic, creating a fine manner, perfecting the fine manner that even holy beings would need to respect. There's one time Siom and his Mahasangha went back to Vietnam. There were venerables who were his friends, came to visit. And later he shared that Thầy Nhất Hạnh, if he had already attained arahatship or not, doesn't matter. What matters is he had educated and trained the entire Sangha, composing of brothers and sisters who can do well in their fine manners. That is enough to attract a lot of followers. The Venerable said that we have been living in Buddhism for so long, but we are unable to train a certain fine manner for our monastics. Being able to dwell in the happiness in the present moment. So we need to know that each of our steps of mindfulness, creating the quality of monastic. This is something very natural, very basic. If we are able to be mindful of each of our words, then we can be successful. This will protect us from falling into the mind of wandering. People who don't practice, they are already able to see that a wandering mind is a suffering mind. Wandering here and there is already suffering because it burns. our energy. You're still young, but your face is already full of wrinkles. It brings about worries, judging, hatred, jealousy, and so on. And these all have the foundation from the wandering mind. If we are able to be mindful at every step, then we are able to be mindful when we talk, and be able to recognize our mind, every thought. When it starts to wander, then we know how to put it to a stop. I would like to repeat. In our practice life, we can just read so many sutras. We can do a lot of things, but we don't leave the two words "cẩn or mindful, careful. That is enough to create a high quality for our life. The wonderful thing about our brothers here is that I see that the elder brothers to the novice, it is something that I can see so clearly, so different from the traditional practitioners, is that once we started practicing, then I can see that you all have a mindful step. I've been living here long enough to see that. This is very clear. I'm not praising or romanticizing it or giving overrated compliments. This is just the truth. There was one time there was a retreat in the East Coast, and Sangha going back was very like a lot of brothers and sisters, and they were in the airplane, and some lay friends came to take some photos, and they asked, "Are you the disciples of Thầy Nhất Hạnh?" And at that time, I just came over from Vietnam. I didn't have any idea of the life of Thầy, so I was surprised. I said, "Whoa, it's so nice. How do you just look at these brothers and sisters and you know that they are disciples of Thầy?" And now I look back, I could see that the whole process of constructing this practice from Thầy leaves a mark in people's mind. In France, people living around the monastery, they don't mind about practice. But whenever they drive by, they will always roll down their windows and wave and smile. Very lovely. They have good impressions, the brothers and sisters. Sometimes I walked from Upper Hamlet to Lower Hamlet in the Dharma talk day. Then there was almost no car from local people who came to the monastery that wasn't full of happiness when they were able to see the brothers and sisters. So our mindfulness, perhaps none of us has attained arahatship. I'm not sure if you have attained it, but only this is enough to succeed in a way that we can bring an example of dignity in society. This is already enough to repay the three jewels. Because we only need to be present, we only need to practice mindfully, and when people see us, their faith will be strengthened. Regardless of the world is chaotic, full of hatred or violence, then the presence of a practitioner, a Sangha, very peaceful, very happy, is already a strong energy to impact the minds of people. They would see that they still have a cooling shade to take refuge in, to have faith in the Dharma, to come to us, to inherit what the Buddha has taught, to practice and bring happiness to their own. That is the first thing I would like to offer to you. There are poems from Thầy that we can just practice our whole life. Walking through a narrow road, seeing leaves falling, suddenly my steps become more mindful. Just suddenly, I just realized that I need to take refuge in mindfulness to practice. So no one needs to tell me. Perhaps in the beginning, the Sangha members have to remind us, but over time, we have to create our own conditions to motivate ourselves. Sometimes I see brothers who walk barefoot. I was stunned, but actually, in the past, and bhikshus from Theravada, they still maintain this practice. They walk back and forth on an empty road. Each of them has their separate path to practice meditation, walking meditation. Just about from here to the parking, probably there was a place to sit from this end of the road, and there is a seat at the other end of the road. So we just walk sometimes for an hour, and then so that's what they need, somewhere to sit. And that's it. That's all they did. So the Buddha said if the bhikshu has a strong faith in the four establishment of mindfulness, if that bhikshu is diligent in the practice, then only within 7 months or less, like 1 month or 7 days, they can attain the fruit of holy being. And so we ask, if we just practice for fun, then even maybe one life we cannot go anywhere. But if we are diligent and hardworking, and even in 7 years we are unable to attain the highest fruit, at least we can still attain the state of constant mindfulness and peace in our mind. In this very present moment, if we can practice mindfulness, then that energy will embrace our entire body. The way we act, the way we smile, all carry the energy of mindfulness and creating peace for ourselves. There's nothing as pity as practicing for 40 years. Wearing hats, putting on red robes, just like any Venerable, have a lot of attendance, but we are unable to settle our minds or always wander. Then this reduce the reputation of the monastic greatly. The practice is actually the core of the quality of a practitioner, not the robe. When you put it on you, it is not the quality of the robe, but the quality of your practice will create your appearance. When you have mindfulness, then the robes of the Tathagata will become more shiny. So if we just let our life drift away a decade from now, we feel that there's no happiness in the practice. Especially when we don't have the inner power strong enough to create happiness for ourselves, then this is a failure. this is the first thing that I would like to point out. That sometimes we practice our whole life and we cannot go outside of the two words cẩn trọng. This katha is very simple. Qua ngõ vắng meaning walking. Lá rụng đầy is already the nature around us, witnessing our walk. Suddenly, I come to awareness, and I stop. Perhaps minutes ago, I was sucked into the past or the future, and now I suddenly remember, and I remember to do this. No one needs to remind me. In reality, after a while we practice, no one will remind us. When we are a novice, we still have a mentor, but when we are bhikshus, then we have to rely on ourselves. The older we get, the more we need to realize that we're not just practicing for ourselves, but we are practicing for others, creating inspiration for others. And so that's why we need to constantly remember and remind ourselves that we have responsibilities, so that in this life we can taste the fruits of the practice. In this life we need to be able to lend our hands to help others. And in this very life we need to be able to repay the Buddha. So suddenly I remember things that I need to do, then I do it. And not only in our steps, but in the future, we need to be careful at how we look, how when we say, when we speak, more deeply than when we are thinking. Your look expresses your mind. They say that the eyes are the windows to the mind. Love will show in your eyes, and also hatred will also show in your eyes. Your desire, your jealousy will also show in your eyes. In reality, just a little bit of practice and we can see it. And eyes of purity, of mindfulness and peace, then it will show as the pair of eyes of purity, clarity, and peace. So, from being mindful of every fine manner, every action, every speech, every look, because when we dwell in mindfulness, then your look will be different. And then even going more deeply, then being mindful of each of our thoughts, we can do that. The second thing that I would like to share, the second thing is that we give ourselves a question: is this easy to remember? Is it easy to be mindful? Nope. Why? Why is it not easy? Because, dear Sangha, we have the habit of letting our lives float freely. Happy, let it be happy. Sad, let it be sad. Our mind wanders, then we just let it wander. It goes to the future, goes to the past, then we just ignore it. We just let it go anywhere it wants to. So we need to remember a sentence from the therapist, the psychologist: a wandering mind is an unfortunate mind. They didn't practice Buddhism or meditation, but they can also realize this. So we need to realize that the Buddha Dharma is the path to end our sufferings, attaining the highest wisdom, nirvana. So we need to know that the source of suffering is the wandering mind. That is a strong habit energy. Closest is from this lifetime or in the past. And if we cannot catch it, if we cannot recognize on the surface, then we cannot get to the depth, get to the root, and unable to transform those sufferings. Our success is to bring that wandering mind, putting it to a stop, and concentrate it in this very moment, to shine on this very moment, to be able to recognize every motion, physical motion, to shine all mental formation, all physical formation, and to shine when we speak, when we think. That is called dwelling in mindfulness. Yeah, this is the contemplation of the Dharma and the mind. Our mind is so used to going in all directions. Now we need to convince it to stop. This is difficult. So, the word thực tập or practice. If we fail this time, we try it. If not successful, do it again. Just keep doing it and then we will be successful. There were times that I came down to eat Brother Minyum's bread. Sometimes it's very good. But sometimes it didn't go according to plan. So when we cut it, the crumbs were falling apart. I asked why. And Bindia said, dear Venerable, it didn't go according to plan. But if we fail this time, we try it again. Just an example, sometimes we walk like ghosts are chasing us, but that's okay. Don't be afraid. Don't be ashamed. That is our habit. We need to remember that it is very difficult to do it constantly in mindfulness. Difficult to become someone who is always dwelling in peace, because that is very difficult. Taking a few decades, that's normal, but that doesn't mean it is impossible. We can do it. So, dear friends, if we want to do this, we need to have a certain aspiration. If you are not aspired to practice, not dreaming, aspiring to change our course of life in this very lifetime, not aspiring to become a great teacher to help people. In this life, we need a lot of quality monastics. Material needs, they do not lack. What they lack is the practice. And so if you pay attention, sometimes if we have the mindfulness, we go home, we can see it right away. Sometimes our parents are unhappy, anxious, nervous. But when you come home, you carry with you the peaceful energy, and your household would be calm, settled. Worries and anxiety will settle and disappear. That is natural. This is not a miracle. This is very natural. A group of people who are chaotic, and then suddenly appear a quality practitioner, monastic. He only needs to sit in the auditorium, and the whole auditorium will be silent. He doesn't need to use any miracle, magic. Doesn't need to spit fire or cough. All he needs to do is just to sit there, to walk, to smile, to greet people with mindfulness, and the whole auditorium will settle. So this life, this world needs monastics who truly can practice. So the first thing we need to have a strong aspiration in order to transform our own suffering, not letting our negative mental formation to drown us. This is the factor to invite us to go further. Second thing, we need to be inspired to live in such a way that we deserve this life. We are receiving a lot of merits from others, contributions from our parents, society, from Thay, from lay practitioners. So we need to live fully to repay those contributions, those care and love that has been nourishing us. And human beings are able to be so developed right now is thanks to this gratitude that we do everything to repay. And so the riots or protests, they're stepping on the American flags. If you listen to President Trump's, you might cry. It is just a piece of cloth, but it is the representation of a whole country or history. People who laid down their lives in the beginning when the U.S. was still the first 13 states. Then they were looking at that flag as the spirit of the country. There are people who contribute their whole lives for this country, but we are unable to see. They believed that if there are no one who set the first stones, then we cannot have the country as we know it today. So if we don't have gratitude, well, if we have gratitude, then it creates the contribution without condition. Sometimes, from time to time, I just hear some information. Like in 2012, there was the presidential campaign. People at the time were not having good impression with the president. But reading into his history, knowing that he is actually pretty wholesome, he did not call people to just use his money to support his campaign. But only Donald Trump, he said that when he was young, he said that he will run for presidency when the country needs him, and now the country needs him. And even though he doesn't have any experience in it, so now coming back to our topic, that we need to live in a way that we are not wasting our time. Then when our mind has to be reminded to be grateful for things that we are receiving, we need to repay those contributions. If we live our whole life spilling our sufferings, this is not the way of repaying our gratitude. So, living in a way that we are deserving these contributions, to repay those contributions is already a big part of our life. If we keep spilling the sufferings, then that is an act of betraying our parents and others. We need to practice so that we have peace and happiness in our life, and take that as the repay for what we are receiving. If we spend our money in order to purchase car or other physical or material needs for our family, that cannot compare to bringing your peaceful happiness energy to them. So if we know that our aspiration to practice is very deep, and our aspiration to repay, to serve back is great, then certainly we realize that every second of our practice is needed for our mindful practice. It is not just counted the whole life, but in every moment. It's 11 o'clock already. We just end quickly and early. So to summarize what I shared, 45 minutes is enough. So, dear Sangha, days and months never had stopped to wait for us. One day passes, it just vanishes. We cannot take it back. We're living and constantly being pushed towards death. There's no way to return to our prime. Whoever is 30, then certainly we will go to 31, 32, or 101 years old. Never we can return to our 20s. So if we don't live a day fully, mindfully, every second, then we are being pushed towards the endless space of death very easily. If today we have a strong foundation of practice, then we can strengthen it tomorrow. If today, for example, we have a little bit of mindfulness, then that creates a larger happiness, greater happiness in the future. If we let ourselves be drowned in our suffering, sadness, and boredom today, then that will certainly invest in the suffering tomorrow. This is the first thing that I like to point out, so we pay attention to. The second thing here is the process of our practice has a great value. First value is creating happiness in our lifetime as a human being. Second value is that if we are unable to attain the highest understanding in this life and we pass on, then our passing will be very swift, very peaceful. Because we practice every day, we look deeply every day. That's why death comes to us very smoothly. We are like the oil lamps, running out of oil slowly, or the candle running out of wax. So death is very smooth. There's no regret. Because normally we have been able to dwell in the practice full of peace. The second thing is full of merits. Knowing returning this body to dust, we already can see the future so vast, so there's nothing to be afraid of. So when we are very mindful and diligent, when we are reborn, then we will be born in the great conditions. If not king, then in the heavens. But if we want to continue our practice as monastics, then as soon as we are reborn, we will be filled with aspiration to practice. Like a lotus blossom, we are able to keep practicing in our next life. because of what we're doing today. We already have certain wisdom as soon as we are born. The factors that require to be successful, all of those holy beings wanting to attain the highest understanding, they all stop by this life, this realm, being rebirthed so many lifetimes. We are the same. If we don't practice well, if we don't live mindfully in this present moment, possessing this merit to become monastics, then when we lose it, it is difficult to find it again. We stop here. Thank you, Sangha. Dạ, từ ôm kịp. Yeah. He asked if I can translate. It's too quick. Brother William, can you hear it? Yeah. Great. Cool. Oh, okay.